Welcome to this episode of the Good Grief Believer podcast. I am the host, Julie Craig, and I'm here today with Kelly Edmondson of Timely Presence. She'll be talking to us about her business. But before we start with that, Kelly, would you please give me a brief life sketch?
Yes. So thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it, Julie. So I'm Kelly Edmondson. I'm originally from the great state of Ohio, where I fell into motherhood and a calling, which was nursing. So I am a nurse. I started out as a trauma ICU and an ER nurse, where I had the absolute honor of meeting people in their most vulnerable moments. Through that, you get the opportunity to see people be blessed with miracles of recovery and transitioning back into life. And you also are there at the end of life. And so for 25 years, I have had the honor of serving in the nation's most respected profession. So it is a huge part of who I am and what I do. I have 3 children and a wonderful husband. And I am now in Orlando, Florida. A little warmer than Ohio, but I currently have a privilege of serving as a system nurse executive and also running this amazing business, which we founded in honor of my late son. So I'm excited to talk about all the things with you today.
Thank you so much, Kelly. What a background. That's amazing. I'm kind of intrigued to know how different it was for you when it was your son who passed. With all this background of being with people in all these moments, what you drew from that was familiar and what was surprising and new to you.
Yeah. You know, you never know, right? God prepares you in ways that you can't even imagine. So from the time I was in nursing school, I was just called to being in crisis. I just felt like, my maiden name is Thomas, so they actually called me Trauma Thomas in my career because I just had a way with being with families, right? Understanding the gravity and just being there with them, getting them the emotional support, calling chaplains in, calling social work in, and really supporting them through the journey. And I found so much fulfillment and being with people in those moments. You know, if you've ever had a health scare or you've been with someone who has health, you remember the clinicians that just get it.
Absolutely.
Right? The
Absolutely.
ones you just don't forget them. And so I knew what an honor and privilege it was to do that. And so I walked with people in that. And so I really thought I understood grief. I really did.
That's what I'm getting at, because you weren't taking their grief home with you.
Yeah. I thought, I have seen hundreds of people die, right? I have. And so I've seen it. I've seen families, during the dying process. It strengthens or tears them apart, and I really thought I understood watching people through this. But what I learned when my son died, and so it was sudden. He had a seizure in his sleep and died. There was no processing.
Yeah.
What I learned is all of those interactions that I had. Now, when someone's dying slowly, there is a grieving process, right? You grieve things along the way.
Yes, you can prepare and you're experiencing it.
That's right. But in the trauma ICU, much of that was acute grief. It was a car accident. It was a motorcycle accident, a fire, right? Violence. So what I realized is what they were in was shock. It wasn't.
That is a good point.
And it's disruptive. I know that because I felt it, right? It's a disorienting, dysregulating phone call or moment. what? What?
Right.
But it's not grief. Grief comes later when you understand. I tell people all this all the time. Forever is a really long time,
Yeah.
right? When you understand, I
Yeah.
will never see you again on this side of
Mhm.
heaven. I'll never see you again. That. It's a really impressive number. You know, in school, when
Yes.
you learn about the infinity sign, it's a concept. When
Yeah.
you lose someone you love,
Yeah.
someone that you should be able to reach out and touch, someone you should be able to call, hug, spend a holiday with, when you lose them and you realize it's not this Christmas, it's not next Christmas, it
Mhm.
is every Christmas for the rest of my life, you
Right.
won't be there.
Right.
It's a different realization. And I learned that grief comes later.
That is such a good point. Yeah, because that permanence you cannot conceptualize during shock
That's right.
and you cannot prepare for it.
That's
You
right.
know, people have said, I try to imagine being in your shoes. I think it's a blessing that you can't imagine it
That's right.
because that kind of permanence is something that you should only feel when it's really there. But let's go back and tell me about your son.
Oh, I love this conversation. I love this one. So Darius, my oldest son, really named from a name out of the Bible, he
Oh,
was the life of every room he walked in from the time he was born.
wow.
From the time he was born, he was
Wow.
just one of those people that lived fully and out loud. He laughed loud. He just enjoyed life, right? He was the
Wow.
kid that the elementary called me about a lot.
Okay. Okay. In a good way or
He talked a lot in class, right? He was a bit
yeah.
of a class clown. He was that kid, right? Just
Right.
everyone was a friend, right? He knew no
Oh.
strangers. And so he ultimately ended up in sales. He became a real estate agent. So that's the personality that he
Oh,
had.
wow.
That's who
So,
you have to be.
oh my goodness. Just didn't have a problem talking to strangers.
Yeah, didn't have a problem with strangers. You know, this is one of my favorite things to tell. So, those kids, it's you don't appreciate that when they're in school, right? You don't appreciate
Right,
that.
right, right.
Um, but as he aged and matured and came into life, that outgoing nature, that life of the party, it really becomes a pick me up for
Oh,
everyone when life gets real, right? When you get older and life gets real, people flock to that.
right.
And so the testament to who he was is at his funeral. I had moved to Florida. He stayed in Ohio. I moved to Florida. He was 28 when he died.
He's so
And
young.
he was a real estate agent. And so he specialized in helping first time home buyers realize their dream.
I love that.
And so he had clients, a couple of clients that showed up to the services.
Oh,
His boss was there and
mm,
spoke at the open mic about who he was and just his boldness and courageousness. Um, but there were four people who got up during the open mic that I'd never seen. A random collection of people you would never put together, right? Different ages, genders, races, just a United Nations of people stood up.
yeah.
I looked at his deck. Do you know them? No, I don't know them. So they get to the mic, and they are employees at the college he graduated from.
Employees at the
They're,
college he graduated from. Wow,
they're
he really made an impression.
did, and they at that service informed us that they were renaming an annual award, the Visionary Dreamer Award, they renamed it the Darius Torrance Visionary Dreamer Award in his honor.
I love that.
And, first of all, what a beautiful thing to happen at that ceremony. I mean, it was like salve to my soul, right?
Yes.
And it's an annual award that I get to go to every year. And
you do?
It's amazing. Meet the recipients. I'm so thankful to Columbus State Community College. So thank you for that.
Oh, wow.
That's the impact that he had. That's the impact that he had. And every year when I go, there is a new professor who stops me to tell me, I knew your son. And he worked part-time as a student there, and he was just so focused, so committed. He wanted to help raise others up. He was exactly what this Visionary Dreamer Award represents. And so what an honor. That's my son.
You paint such an amazing picture. I can just see this kid, this young man with bright eyes and a sure walk, just grasping life and experiencing it and bringing everybody with him that was nearby. And when that light is extinguished, what a hole that leaves.
Yeah. Just so quick, so unexpected,
So how did you manage? Were you in Florida at the time? Did you get a phone call? What happened?
So at the time of his death, my husband and I were actually on a cruise ship.
Oh my gosh. Oh no.
Yeah. So my youngest son had just moved out. So we were like empty nesting.
Yes.
And had spent the day in Mexico, had an amazing day. And, I always think back on that. He had died. The coroner said about 1 a.m., probably.
Uh-huh.
I spent that entire day in Mexico vacationing. And my son was laying in his bed dead because they didn't find him until his job called his girlfriend. She went over that afternoon at 5 in the evening. So,
oh my goodness, that is very traumatic.
Very traumatic. We're on a cruise ship, so my younger son had the task of calling me to let me know.
I can't imagine how that affected him.
When I spoke to him, when I answered the phone, there was no doubt in his voice that whatever the news was, it was going to be disruptive. I would have never imagined what it is that he told me. So we were floating in the ocean and had to figure out how to get back home to Ohio. And so that was tough.
I am so sorry. What a horrible experience.
I have to say, we're stuck in the middle of the sea. We stopped at Grand Caymans. There were no flights out. So we had to wait until we got to Jamaica the next day. So I'm two whole days we were on this. But I have to tell you, for all the things people say about people, how terrible people are, the way the whole cruise line wrapped their arms around us, they took care of us for those 48 hours. They helped arrange transport in Jamaica. And, someone knew someone in Jamaica, called and got a driver for us. It was the amount of coordination. We'll take care of your luggage, deliver it straight to your home. Just the way they took care of me. People show up.
See, that's what I think too. I think that people are awful because they don't know what's happening, right? But when people really know, for the most part, they do practice compassion.
That's right.
But they have to know.
That's exactly right.
It's you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off and you think, oh, that's the biggest jerk in the world. You have no idea what's
exactly right.
What's going on. But if we know, then we do act differently. Wow. So you came home and you gathered your family together. What happened? What
Yeah,
happened
we got
next?
home. I have to tell you, there were things. All people had started delivering things and leaving things, and people really show up, particularly in the moment of loss. They really do. They
Yeah.
really do.
Right.
And so, my daughter. I mean, to think about sitting with your daughter and writing the obituary
Oh,
for
yeah.
your.
I remember doing that with my
Yeah,
kids. Yeah.
yeah. It
Yeah.
was just.
It's surreal.
It
You're
is.
thinking, how do you encapsulate a person's life?
That's right. That's exactly right. How do I describe his life
Yeah.
on a page?
This beautiful, beautiful
That's right.
person.
That's right. And what songs do we pick to be played? And do we want doves? I mean all these, right? My parents are living, right?
Oh,
So I'd never
yeah.
planned. The
Yeah.
first funeral I planned was my son's.
Oh, something
Right.
you never think you're going to have to do.
Never. And so, you get through all that, but again, you are running on task. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so difficult to describe. You are moving through there are so many decisions. What's he going to wear? What are you going to wear? What, right?
Yeah.
What pictures are going to be in the obituary? There's all these things. And so, again, you are certainly sad, but you're still living in shock.
Yes.
I have to get this done. The funeral's in just a few days.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
That morning, waking up that morning, and I didn't sleep well that night, but I probably got to sleep about 3.
Oh,
And I woke up that morning and I thought, I'm getting prepared to go say goodbye to my. It is a surreal feeling. The heaviness in the chest, the confusion, right? Just the confusion, like the rapid thoughts. Who's coming to the funeral? Is everything going to be okay? Okay, it's almost like his final ceremony, right?
yes. Yes.
I want
Yes.
everything to be perfect, but it can't be perfect because he's dead. So there's nothing about am I going to leave the casket open or not?
Right.
All these decisions, that morning, driving in. And when we arrived, I didn't want to go in.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I sat in the car,
It wasn't real.
right, right. It would be final when we walked in. Um, And I one of the things I don't know what you did. We ultimately, because I don't live there, his father does.
Mm-hmm.
We decided to cremate because we both
Mm-hmm.
wanted a part of him that we could have.
Right. Oh, that's beautiful.
And um, they kept asking what we're going to do with the casket, and I finally decided we would leave it open for calling hours, but for the service we would close it.
That's
I just didn't want to
okay.
be in the room when they closed it because that felt so final.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
That is a terrible experience.
I didn't want to be in the room. So
Yeah.
I didn't have to live through that. My dad did speak and said, I wish you'd left it open. He was such a good looking boy. I wanted to see him.
That's
But
nice.
I will tell you, the thing that lifted the heaviness for me at the funeral was when the people from the school got up and they made
Yeah.
the announcement. And the first ceremony that was renamed in his honor was 2 weeks later.
Oh,
So
my
it wasn't
goodness.
over. The ceremonies that celebrated his life were still continuing, which was um, it was the gift that God needed to give me for that
Mm-hmm.
day, for me to be able to function and show up. And you know the things, all the people at the house,
Yes.
I needed that to be able to get through it, and I got it that day. And so that is, um, I call that my God wink in this moment because it was
Yeah.
going to be really hard for me to show up through all the things without that. And they gave me that. Now, 2 weeks later, there was a snowstorm in Ohio, so they canceled the service, which was a whole other set of drama. But
Oh boy, yeah.
the day of the funeral, I got what I needed to be able to get through.
I love that. I think I've experienced those things too. It seems like I love how you called it a God wink, because you do continue to experience those things. But here's where I want to segue into, because, you talk about the immediate shock, that the grief really does come later. And that later is usually when everyone around you has kind of started to move back into their lives and their routines, and now your grief starts, and it's a very different, lonely experience.
It's very lonely.
I want to know, did that prompt the new direction that you went? And can you tell me about that process?
Yeah. So Darius died January 3rd. And so Mother's Day was a few months later, right? Right in the peak, right? They talk about 3 to 6 months kind of being this peak season, right? Of the intensity of the emotion. So it's Mother's Day for me. Now, Mother's Day is very commercial.
Yes.
I didn't realize how commercial it was until then.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation.
The commercials, the banners, the things that pop up on your phone. Don't forget Mother's Day, right? They're everywhere. They are everywhere. And as the day got closer, I became more and more anxious about the day. And, I told my husband, I don't want to do Mother's Day. This I'm not interested.
Just want to skip it.
Yeah. And so I don't know what to tell the kid. You've got to figure out what to tell the kids, because I'm not interested, right? And they want to make a huge deal this year.
Right. Like, we love it. Yeah. That is so interesting.
My sister, my mother, my sister, and my niece, all in Ohio, decided to fly down to Florida for that weekend.
Oh my goodness.
We are going to celebrate Mother's Day together. Oh. And so they came with memories, memorabilia, stories, remembrance of. So we talked about our love for him, his life, and the loss. We talked about them all, right? And I had spent so much time dreading being a bereaved mother on Mother's Day. And they came and allowed me to just be Darius's mother. Right? And so we laughed and joked about the time he said this and his favorite song. And you remember when he got grounded? I mean, we laughed at all those things, right? We cried too, but we laughed again. And we spent the whole time in remembrance. And it's one of my favorite life memories, is the way they just surrounded me with the love and the light of his life. And we didn't deny that we talked about the loss and we miss him. But it wasn't, it was sad, but it wasn't depressing. I don't know,
it makes sense to me. You were surrounded by love, by the most important women in your life, right? Just love
and
that.
I felt seen.
Yes.
And I knew that they remembered him, right? They loved him and they remembered him and they remembered me.
Yes.
And so my neighbor had lost her husband of 50 years 3 months after Darius died, almost to the day, 3 months later. So we have walked this grief journey together. Mm-hmm. So I decided when that happened, I knew that Mike's birthday and their anniversary were coming up. So this was May. I knew June and July, birthday anniversary. So I decided secretly leave her gifts for those dates.
I love that.
And I left the birthday gift. I left her a wind chime. I waited till she left and I wrapped it all up and I dropped it off on her porch. So the next time I saw her, I was pulling into my driveway and she came over and she said, Kelly, I want you to come see what someone gave me for Mike's birthday. So I followed her over and now I'm a trauma ICU nurse. This woman in her mid 70s has pulled out a ladder and climbed up on a ladder to hang this.
You're like, that wasn't my intention.
To hang this wind chime. But she said, we live on a lake. She said, I sat out here all night and Mike talked to me all night long.
Oh my gosh. How did you feel knowing that you had been able to gift her what your mom and sister and niece had gifted you?
The look in her eyes, what I am going to call the relief from, the relief that she felt there. I said, that is what everybody should have access to. That's it. Yeah. That's it. And that is actually how it was born. Let me tell you, that moment, I was convinced. I was in a PhD program. I dropped out and enrolled in an MBA for entrepreneurial studies.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, that's it. That's it, kid. We're building a business in your name. You're guiding these steps. Come on. And Timely Presence was born from that experience.
You know, I had not thought of how it's the embodiment of Darius.
It is. It is.
He continues his influence through this business that you have started.
His favorite color is blue. That's our brand color. He is just, he is our true north. So when my son, my youngest, the one who called me to tell me, he is my partner in this. He handles all the operations, right? I do strategy. He does operations. He's an accounting major. I'd like to say he does finances, but he hates them. So the two of us, every decision we make is grounded and is this honoring Darius's legacy?
I love that.
Is this
what a wonderful way for him to work through his grief of losing his brother. Were they close?
Absolutely. I mean, right. I had two boys and a girl. So Darius was the big one, the one that everybody looked up to. He's the one.
That's right. The hero.
That's right.
Oh my goodness. That is super exciting.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So it's so great. I talk to my son every day, right? We talk every day. What are your thoughts about this? Did you see this new ad? What do you think? Right? We're partners, and we're partners in a business that's honoring the legacy of my son. Listen, this wouldn't have been the story I wrote, right? It wouldn't have been the story I wrote. But to be able to create another chapter that is rooted in his legacy and in supporting others and fulfilling the mission of love and compassion with my son, it's if I had to write another chapter, this would be it.
That is amazing. How do you feel like your faith has influenced this?
I'm so thankful for my mother. For first of all, I have a praying mother, right? I have a praying mother who, while I was on the cruise ship, and my mother-in-law, both, the way they covered us, right? Because I wasn't in a space to do that. The reality is, I was angry. So I was angry at God. I was angry at Darius. I was angry at God. I was angry at me. Right? I mean, you're mad, right? This doesn't make any sense.
It's not fair. It doesn't make any sense.
That's right. So I wasn't in a place to do that, and they covered me. So, I'm so grateful for that. But I am so grateful for my mother who kept us. You get introduced to Christ at different points in your life, right?
Right.
I happened to experience that as a child. So I had so much biblical history and knowledge and connection to be able to leverage when I was ready. Right. I'm so
Yes.
thankful for her rooting us in that, because
Yes.
I don't know how I would have made it through if I didn't believe in several. One is that there's another life after this, right? We will be
Right.
reunited.
Right. This is not all there is.
It's bye for now. It's a long now, but it's bye for now.
Yes.
And secondly, you have to believe my dad and I really worked through this to ask why, to just talk about the unfairness of this to a God who voluntarily gave his son up, right?
Right.
He didn't choose this.
Right.
To a God who voluntarily gave this up is relatively bold, is what my dad said.
Well, you're you're interacting with a being who understands
Yeah. Yeah.
deeply your pain,
That's right.
especially with an oldest son,
That's
right?
right. That's
Your
right.
oldest son,
That's right.
he knows and can comfort you
That's right.
through
That's
that.
right. And so, I don't know how I would have made it through with this amount of resilience, with this amount of hope for the future,
Yes.
hope on the horizon, right? Is it painful? Yes. Are there days that are still difficult? Of course. He's my son, right? He's my son.
Yes.
But I believe that he still is, right?
Yes.
I don't believe he's gone,
Yes. He
his
hasn't
body is
disappeared.
dust, his
Yes.
spirit is not.
Yes.
And so I believe he still exists. I have signs that
Mhm.
he still exists. God is sending me that. And he is absolutely ordered these steps through this business, which I have to tell you, it is so healing to get a letter from. Let me tell you what happened this late last week. A funeral home director called me. He trialed out. He said, we'll trial and see how it is. So he called me and he let me know that they'd done a package they'd done a collection for a bereaved mother.
Okay.
She lost an adult child.
Mm.
And every gift that she received for every milestone, she drove personally back to the funeral home and hand delivered some token of appreciation to his home baked cookies,
Oh.
and just said, "Thank you for remembering her birthday." Right?
Yes.
We're thinking about us during the holidays. But the Mother's Day gift, I think, just blew her away. I mean, it just blew her because nobody thought to reach out to her or was comfortable
Right. Right.
on Mother's
Right.
Day. And so, what I continue to say is grief support isn't broken because people don't care.
That's true.
It's not. It's broken because we built it around the wrong moments.
Yes.
It's all front loaded, all of it.
Yes.
But the
Yes.
silence at month 3 is deafening. It's
That's
so loud,
right. That's
right?
right. That's right. This is really, really extraordinary. I I love that you have been able to take your personal experiences and this concept and turn it into good for others. And I love that a funeral home director would choose
Yeah,
to provide this
yeah,
to previous clients.
yeah.
I would have been blown away as well if the funeral home had reached out to me and said, "Hey, we know it would have been Steve's birthday. Just
That's
wanted you
right.
to know we're thinking about you."
That's right.
That's amazing. Well, tell me how it works.
Yeah. So we've tried to make it easy for people to keep showing up, right?
Yeah.
Showing up on the moments that matter. So the research says through this whole process, I have become a certified grief counselor because I wanted to understand grief, right? I wanted to
Yes.
understand what helps, what hurts,
Right.
tell all the things. I wanted to understand kind of the psychology behind it. And so the research tells you very clearly that while grief is not linear, we like to talk about grief in phases, but the reality is grief is exacerbated and relieved. And people think about phases and then think they're failing, and they really shouldn't. That's not the way that it works. But what we know for sure are there are certain days that are absolutely predictable to be more difficult than others. So you see it all the time, right? You see the Facebook messages that say "Happy Heavenly Birthday, Dad," and it's another 6 years without you. You see that all the time. People know that, and those are the days: birthdays, wedding anniversaries,
Yes.
Mother's or Father's Day without a child or without a parent, right?
Mm-hmm.
The holidays for sure. The holidays are built around families and presents, and the absence of someone you love is significant there.
Oh, yes.
And then the 1 year anniversary is always really very difficult.
Yeah.
And so we provide a way for you to give support to someone that you care about on all of those dates. We take care of it all. We take care of it all. You tell us who your loved one is and who the departed is, right? We need a few pieces of information. We need their birthday. We need their date of death. But and the relationship. So if I know that it was their child, I'll send something on Mother's Day. If it was their spouse, if you don't know the wedding anniversary, we'll send it on Valentine's Day. But we will send gifts all year long with beautiful, these have been handcrafted notes and messages that come that just say, I wanted to do something more than flowers for you. Okay? I wanted to give you something that lasted. I wanted to bring some light to your holiday season. And we deliver these handcrafted gifts. We personalize each and every one of them. And they show up on those days to let people know you're not alone. We're thinking of you. We're still here.
I love that. That must be just a very satisfying experience.
I love that. I love it when someone sends me a message and says, listen, someone sent me a screenshot and said, the note just said, oh my gosh, thank you. It was a gift that came on a wedding anniversary. Thank you. And they just said, I would have never remembered this. Thanks for standing in the gap for me. Right.
Yes.
Those things are, but what the message they got from the person they sent it to was so beautiful. They felt like they'd been given a hug.
Yes. Yes.
So I love being able to help people.
Well, it seems like
that's what I
was just going to say. It's an extension of your whole career, caring for people's bodies and minds, and now you're caring for their souls.
That's right. That's right.
And this is a really neat concept for, especially when you live far away.
That's exactly.
And you can't just drop by with, some cookies or,
that's exactly right.
I love that.
Right. Yeah.
Or for people who don't know what to say, they don't know the right thing to say.
That's right.
That is so great. Well, I think this has been a fantastic conversation. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for talking about Darius, bringing him to life.
Listen, it's my delight. People are afraid, to your point, to bring it up. And I'm like, oh, there's the spiritual Jesus. It's the sweetest name I know. Number 2 is Darius.
Yes. So true. It's so true. I was fortunate because when I married the first time, who is Steve, my now late husband, that he had been widowed really young. He was widowed in his 30s. And so from the time I met him, I got to have a little I got to look in to see what it was like to be him, to have the thoughts that he had. And he really taught me how to be around people who were grieving, how to help them, how to support them, because he had walked that walk. And it was interesting when he passed away. And you know what's so crazy? It was also around 1 a.m, sometime while I was sleeping, he passed away. And that's a shock and a fog that I don't ever want to go back to.
Yeah.
But it was so fortunate to have had a little bit of a glimpse, kind of like with your nursing experience, but then you experience it for yourself. It's different, but kind of familiar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you say?
Right. It helps to prepare you. And it also lets you know that I can do this. I can do this, right? You have to do it one day at a time.
Yes.
It's one day at a time. It's one week you have 2 good days.
Right.
And then you have 3, right? It's one at a time. And then, before you know it, maybe not before you know it, but at some point you come back to you.
Did you ever experience any particularly negative or hurtful moments? Any time that people were insensitive or not aware?
The things for me that were really difficult, and I'd love to know for you, was Steve, and people mean no harm, but questions like, I've changed this question. I now ask a different one. People ask, how many children do you have?
I was going to, yes. I wondered how you react to that question.
Yeah. So when it first happened, I didn't know what to say, right? I didn't know what to say. Now I just say it, right?
Yeah. I have 3 children.
I have 3.
One is an angel.
That's right. Exactly right. That's exactly right. And if they want to inquire more, we can talk about, right? I don't force the conversation, but if you want to talk about, but he's my son. He's my son, and he's going to be mentioned. I'm going, right? But I now ask people, tell me about your family, just because I've also, Mike, my first husband, and I were very young when we married, and we had 3 beautiful children, but we divorced, and so people would tell me about your husband. Well, I don't. Well, he's an ex. I don't know if he's still.
Instead of having these very pointed questions, tell me about your family, is a beautiful way to, because people are trying to get to know you. You're trying to get to know them. I love that.
So you share what you want, right?
Yes.
One thing that people have often said is, do you have other children? And I think that's a perfectly acceptable question. But when they say things like, well, at least you have other children.
Yes.
Right? Like, he wasn't really, I talked to one and she goes, yeah. What they're implying is you have an heir and a spare, right? So I just.
Right. Or you can't grieve completely because you still have someone there.
That's right. Like, he still really mattered, right? His absence is still very much felt.
Yes.
Again, people not meaning to say the wrong thing.
Right.
People also like to grief compare, which I don't really.
Yes.
We've all experienced loss. It stinks.
Yes, that's true. I don't know if that just comes from a competitive culture, but I mean, where I guess human beings do compare. They compare things all the time.
Yeah.
But it can be hurtful in that context. The question I always hated is, how did he die? Because I tried to perform CPR on my husband. I had to call 911 while I was trying to perform CPR, and he was probably already gone. But I don't want to talk about that. He wasn't, in hospice surrounded by his loving family. I mean, that line I hated seeing that in obituaries.
Right. That's
because
right.
I just felt jealous and angry
That's right.
that,
Yeah.
that someone was on their peaceful deathbed,
Yeah. And had a
floating
chance to say goodbye.
dead.
Right. That's right.
And I had ambulance and fire truck coming to my house in the middle of the night. It wasn't a peaceful scene. And so that's the thing I have learned. I've learned that I don't need to know the details.
That's right. My grief counselor told me early, people are going to ask you how he died.
Yeah.
And she said, and this is what I'm going to tell you. They're not asking for you, they're asking for them, because people are very afraid of death. And
That's
so they want to
interesting.
know, how can it not happen to me?
Wow, that is a new thought. I had never thought of it from that angle. I always just thought it was morbid curiosity.
So that's people want to know how does this not happen to me, right? What can I do so I'm not her?
Right. And how do you react when it's somebody who's had a very tragic death? Someone's been murdered, or it's death by suicide, or
right.
Right. I mean,
so I never ask that either. You share what you'd like, right? You share, I'm sorry for your loss.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Right. Sorry for your loss.
And I am sorry.
And you should not ask people who are in acute grief is, what can I do? What do you need? They don't know. They don't know.
They don't have the brain cells to put together.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just do
That's
something.
right. That's right. That's when you show up at somebody's house and you clean their toilet.
That's right.
That's right.
So I really say there's 3 R's to caring for people who are in grief. 3. If you can remember 3 things, 3 R's. The first is regulate. So that is regulate yourself, right? So don't, oh my gosh, I don't know what I would do. Don't do all that. You just take a breath, pause, and respond with intention, right? You say something with it. Regulate your feelings before you begin engaging with them. Mm-hmm. No, people do that all the time. I don't know how you, what did you want me to do? Right. Number 2 is respond, though. Do something. Just show up, do something. Take dinner over. Yes. Offer to take the kids to soccer practice on Saturday. Yes. Go to the house and do laundry. Do something. Don't make the bereaved person responsible for telling you how to help. Just show up. Yes. And the last thing is remain. Keep showing up. Don't do it once. Regulate, respond, remain. If we can do that, we have supported the person we love in grief. I love that. That is absolutely beautiful. Well, I think we should close with our final question that I ask all of my guests. Okay. What do you think it means to grieve well? So for me, grieving well is finding peace with the loss, but purpose in what's next. And so that's what I've done. I will forever be sad, but it wasn't my decision, but it was a decision. And what I've committed to is making sure that Darius's legacy does not die at 28 with him. So I love that. And I'm thankful to Darius for bringing you and I together. Yes, me too. There you go. On the other side of the veil. That's right. That's right. Thank you so much, Kelly. I really appreciate the time we've spent together. I appreciate it. Thank you, Julie.